Hey traders, welcome back to my channel where we don't just create expert advisors and indicators, we unlock the full potential of MQL5. I'm super excited to bring this series to you, the art of algorithmic trading. In the first video of this series, we are going to code a trading system called Volatility Bracket. I won't call it an unprofitable model and I won't call it a profitable one either. You will have to decide that for yourself. Besides, the goal of this video and this channel isn't to showcase some holy grail or guaranteed profitable system, but to teach you techniques you can apply to solve real trading problems using MQL5. Here is a sneak peek of what you stand to gain if you watch till the end of this video. I will run a quick back test of the EA so you can see how it works. Volatility brackets, let's the input settings. Let's run a quick back test. Let's make it a bit faster. The EA is on now, waiting for a breakout of the brackets. There was no breakout here. And now a breakout. This is what the EA does. 1. It detects a new day using time values, then calculates previous days or previous candles price move. It calculates the previous bar. If you select a daily time frame, it calculates the move of the previous day. Then 2, it projects a percentage of that move into the future with buy and sell zones. Here is the buy, here is the sell zone. 3, it waits for a candle to close either above or below the zones. If a zone is broken, it deletes opposite zone brackets. As you can see here, at first it projected 2 zones, the buy and the sell zone. Immediately this buy zone got broken, it deleted the opposite zone bracket, which in this case is the sell, and it ensures that the breakout happens within the current day. The current day is the main time that a breakout is expected to happen. If a breakout does not happen within the specified time range, it won't trade, neither will it delete any brackets. So here the breakout happened within this particular date, so it deleted the opposite bracket and then opened a trade, as you can see here. And it opened a trade. The SL method used here, the SL method, let's see the SL method. The stop loss method it used here is the ATR, stop loss based on ATR. Then you can still use stop loss based on range opposite. Let's here stop loss at opposite side of the range. Let's use that to see. It's on. Another bracket, and now a breakout. If you look closely, you will find out that the previous test that we did, the stop loss was somewhere around here because we used the ATR method for the stop loss. It calculated its stop loss using the ATR value, and now here we used the range opposite and the SL was set to the opposite side of this range, which is here. And now if you also watch, you can see that the TP is now set far than the previous test that we did. It is because the range opposite side, the range size is bigger than the SL ATR method. So this is how the EA works. So now let's dive straight into the code. First, at the very top of the file, we have our header section. Here, our header section. On line 2 is the copyright information. On line 3 is a clickable link in the EA settings pointing to my MQL5 profile. Line 4 is the version number. Line 5 here, we have my custom icon. Next, I defined a few constants and shortcuts that I will use throughout the code. The first one here is dev prog name, which means program name. This is set to file, which is the name of the EA file. So anywhere I use this constant as a prefix for objects or orders, they will automatically be tied to this specific EA file by name. They will be tied to the EA by file name. Next, on line 7, we have max breakout candle size. This constant will help to control how far a breakout candle close is allowed to be from our reference level. As you can see that here, that constant helps to keep track of this breakout candle to make sure that its close is not too far from our reference level, which is here. And here we set it to 80. Next, we have on line 8, we have the tick size. This is a shortcut that gives us the minimum price step for the current symbol. It gives us the minimum price step for the current symbol. On line 9, we have the volume max. This gets the maximum allowed lot size for the current symbol. It gets the maximum allowed lot size by the broker. The maximum allowed lot size by the broker for the current symbol. On line 10, we have the volume min. This does something similar. This gets the minimum. Now this one gets the minimum allowed lot size for the current symbol. Next, we have the include. Here we include the trading library and we create two helper objects. The first helper object is the trade object and the second one is the position object. Now let's set up some drawdown option lists. Here we created an enumeration called enum SL method, a list of named options for user to select for SL placement. Method ATR and method range opposite. If user selects method ATR, then the SL will be calculated based on ATR values. If the user selects the method range opposite, the stop loss will be set at the opposite side of the range. Next, we have the enum RR method. This enumeration will enable the user to specify exactly how far the TP should be placed relative to the SL. 1:1, 1:1.5, 1:2, 1:2.5, as you can see here. Next, we create a structure. This structure is the brain of one volatility bracket. It stores the object name, object by name, object cell name. It also stores the opening price of the bracket. the opening price, the size of the bracket, and the exact buy zone and sell zone we are to trade from. So here on line 33, we have a constructor. Anytime we create a new structure, we get a fresh structure. We get everything set to 0. All its members, brackets open, the strange members are set to empty values. The buy zone and the sell zone are set to empty values. This helps us to ensure that we have a fresh structure whenever we create an object of the structure or something. Here we create input settings to give the user full control over how the bracket is calculated, how trades are managed, how aggressive the risk to reward ratio should be. On line 45, we specify the range calculation time frame. Here I use the period D1, which is the daily time frame. That means if the user selects period D1, the range will be calculated based on the previous day's price move. On line 46, we have the input range percentage. This gives the user the ability to specify the amount, the percentage of the range that will be projected into the future. If the user wants the projection to be done using the 40%, 50% of the range calculated. On line 47, we have the signal time frame. This is the time frame where the EA will actually run. Here I use period H1. This is where the EA will create the bracket and trade from. Here we have the trade management settings, the magic number, the input lot size. On line 51, we have the RR method. Here we enable the user to choose the risk to reward ratio he or she wants. On line 54, we have the SL method, which enables the user to select the SL method he or she prefers, if it's the method ATR or the method range opposite, that is the opposite side of the range. On line 53, we have the ATR period if the user selects the SL method to be ATR method. Next, we create global variables. These global variables will help the EA to keep track of the brackets, indicators, and time window. On line 55, we have the buy color and sell color. This will help to set the color for the brackets that will be created. On line 56, we have the brackets array. Here the name of each bracket that is being created will be stored here. And here text, the name of each text that will be created on the chart will be stored here. And my reason here will be used to find out the reason of an error or failure during the process. Then on line 57, we have is bracket defined. This helps to keep track if a bracket has been defined or not. We set it to false initially. Is bracket broken? This helps to keep track of broken levels. We set it to false. 59, we have range percent, and RR multiplier. This will be used to do the simple math to calculate the range percent of the previous day and others. On line 60, we have the lot size and the ATR array that will be used if the user selects the ATR method. ATR handle. Wait, something happened here. No. This should be here initially. Let's compile. Hope no errors. No errors. On line 61, we have handle ATR, the ATR handle. And here we created an object of the structure bracket property. Now on line 67 we have the MQL rate. We created a rate array to help us keep track of, to help us store historical data, prices, close, open time, and others. On line 64 we have MQL tick. This will be used to keep track of the properties of the last tick. MQL date time on line 65. On line 66 we have the start and end global variables that will help us to detect the start and the end of the day, the start and end of the range. Next we have the onInit function. We will get back to that, followed by the deinit and the onTick. We will get back to all this. Next we have the setup function. This function prepares everything before the EA starts trading. The work of this function is to prepare both the indicators, the settings, the method, the risk to reward ratio, the color that will be used for the projection of the brackets and others. On line 111 we check if the user select the ATR method. If true, then we work on the handle, the ATR handle. If here we check if it fails, then we print error creating ATR indicator, then return false. Here on line 118 range percent, we do a simple math here to get the range percent the user specifies. Let's say the user specifies 75 to be the percentage, then 75 divided by 100. That is a simple math. Then on line 119 we set the expert magic number to whatever magic number the user specifies. On line 20 we read the chart background color. Here we read the current chart background color where the EA is launched on. And next we pick buy and sell bracket colors. These are the colors that I think that will show clearly. Here we just do a simple pick. After reading the background color, we then select if the background color is black, use this color for the buy, else use this color. If the background color is black, use this color for the sell, else use this. This is just a shorthand ternary operation or something. Next we work on the lot size. We will make sure that this lot size is not below the minimum allowed lot size by the broker, and it is not above the maximum allowed lot size by the broker. Here we set our rate array to be series, array set as series, and here we work on the RR method selected by the user. Here we work on the RR method. If the RR method is method 1:1, then we translate it into a numeric multiplier. Value equals to 1. If it's 1.5, then value equals to 1.5, and so on. And lastly we return true. That means every check and everything that is supposed to be done before the EA starts trading has been well dealt with. And next we have the is new bar for TF. This function tells us when a new candle forms on a given time frame. If it's a daily time frame, 1 hour time frame, a minute time frame, this will help us detect new bar formation on whatever time frame on whatever time frame given to it. Then on line 157, we have the round price to tick precision. This function helps to snap any given price to the nearest valid broker tick for a given symbol. This helps to make sure that each price we want to use in this EA aligns with the broker tick in order to avoid order rejection and others. You just make sure that each price we are using for orders are always precise and valid based on broker tick. First, we check if price is less than 0, we return 0. Then the ticks, price divided by tick size which we saw at the tick size here, symbol trade tick size. It helps us to know the step size of each symbol of the symbol we are about to trade. Back to, and here we round it to the digits. And on line 164, we have is trade open. As the name implies, this function helps us to detect if there is any open position. This function will help us to avoid trading or drawing or projecting brackets when there is an open trade. As the strategy implies that, like, we don't want any drawing, any projection, any brackets or trading when there is an open position. Provided there is an open position, no trades. That is what this function helps us to do. If position magic number is equals to magic, then it returns true, telling us yes, there is an open position. Else, return false. False means what? No open position. And on line 174, we have the create box function or procedure. Yeah, procedure, not function. Procedure. This procedure helps to label. No, this function helps to create objects, not label. This function draws visual zones and brackets for trading and stores their information in a bracket structure. This function helps us to draw visual zones, as you can see here, visual zones or brackets for trading. And then first, on line 178, we resize the boxes that will be passed here, which will be the bracket array, the global bracket array. Then here we resize it by 2. We increase the size of whatever bracket that will be passed here by 2. Why that? It is because each creation, each day that I want to create a bracket, 2 rectangles will be created, one here and one here. So we resize the size of whatever strange array that will be passed here by what? 2. And we make sure that it is 2. If array size boxes plus 2 is equals to -1, then we return. Else, that means the array was successfully resized. On line 179, we get today open time, the current open time, the open time of the current bar. If the user specified daily time frame, then we will get the open time of the current daily time frame. On line 180, we get the end time by using the function get next day start. We will get to that in a minute. Here we get the upper bound, the lower bound, and each bound that we get, we round the price to tick precision. And next, on from line 184 to line 187, we just store the information of the bracket in this bracket structure, st bracket property that will be passed to this function. Next, we reset last errors. Here we create by zone here, boxes array size -2 equals to unique box name. We will get to that in a jiffy. And on line 191, we search for the object find. This function searches for an object with the specified name in the chart. It searches for an object with the specified name on the chart. If the object was not found on the chart, it returns a negative value, which in this case is what? -1. So if the object name is not found on the chart, then we want to create the object by that name. On line 192, we then create the object by this name, rectangle, obj rectangle object, today open time, open price, open price, and the time we use time current plus signal time frame times 2. Here, all we are doing here is that we want the time anchor of each created object to be projected 2 bars from the current bar, to end at 2 bars after the current bar. That is, in the future, the bars that have not yet been created. That is what we just do here. Time current plus signal time frame times 2. That is 2 bars. We add 2 bar time to the current time. That is where the time anchor 1 of the object here, if I'm not mistaken, will be. Then on line 193 to line 196, we just set object properties. Here we make sure it is filled. Here we set it to be at the background, the color, the tooltip. This tooltip is when you hover your cursor around an object, this text will be displayed. Let me show you that. Can you see it? Volatility bracket EA. This is it. Volatility bracket EA. This is the cursor. This is the tooltip. Volatility bracket EA. Back to the scroll. If object creation failed, by object creation failed, we get the error. If this creation fails, next we create cell zones. We get a unique name for the object. We do the search for the object name. If it doesn't exist on the chart, same process, and that's all for that. Next, we have the create new zone. The create new zone function, which is of type st bracket properties. This function does the basic mathematics. It decides when and where to create a new bracket. It decides when and where to create a new bracket. On line 218, we create an object of the structure. Here we ensure that there is no thread open. If it's thread open with the magic number passed as the argument, we return this structure empty. We return an empty structure. Else, we get next day start to be when this the bracket that will be created will end, when it will expire. We get the open price, we get previous range. We calculate the price move of the previous day or the previous bar, depending on whatever time frame you select. On line 224, we define offset, range times previous range times points. Here we just get an offset to that. Is bracket broken, is set to false. We set this to false because the bracket is not yet open. If this is set to true, we will see that this function create object will fail at some point. It might skip drawing object sometimes because this is set to true, but here we set it to false to ensure that it works as planned. Then on line 228, we set this bracket defined to true. After creating the bracket, we set it to true. Next, we have the create text object. This function helps to label objects on the chart, marking broken brackets. As you can see here is the text broken. No text here because none of the brackets got broken or something. Back to the code. Here we search for the object by the name. If it exists, here we check if object name exists. Next, we set the time and we define our time anchor and price anchor. Here we resize the array, this array, save array. We change the size, we update the size to 1, we add the size to 1. Here we get the needed properties of the bracket. If the bracket that we are looking for is, for example, this, we get the properties, the color, so that the color of the text will match the color of this bracket. That's what we do here. If we get the object time, we get the object price, and here we get the color of the object, the color of the bracket, to ensure that it is visually consistent, to ensure that the color of the text is always same to the color of the bracket we create. Here we set it, set, and here this string array that will be passed here is the text array that we defined globally. That global text array, that is what we will pass here as the argument or parameter. Next, we have on line 255, we have get next day start. This get next day start was used here to mark when the bracket will expire. If the bracket was defined today or created today, then it must expire by the start of the following day. That means whatever candle that will break out of this range must be within this current day. We want the breakout to happen within this current day. If it doesn't happen, that bracket or that those zones they are no longer valid, then we create new ones. Back to the get next day start. This function just helps to get the midnight of the next day, which we will use for bracket expiration time. Here we pass the current day time, the open time of the current day. Then we created a MQL5 date time object time to structure. We changed the properties of this MQL5 date time object or variable. Then we returned it as time value. struct to time. Next, we have the unique box name. This function just generates a unique name for each bracket or text in the chart, preventing name collision. This function just helps us to generate a unique name so that the names of the objects will not collide. Here we just get the objects total, which gives us the number of objects on the chart. We convert it to string value, then we add it to whatever prefix, then we return it. Objects total prefix, we return. What do they call this? No, not concatenate. We convert it to string value because it will return a value like 10, 0, then we convert it to string in order to match the type of the function type here. Next, we have the get previous bar range points. Get previous bar range points. As the name implies, it gets the range points of the previous bar, the total movement of price for the previous bar or time frame, or if it's a daily time frame or 4-hour time frame, you just get the total amount of points that price move. If it's 1,000 points, 50,000 points, depending on how volatile that particular day is. Next, we have the cleanup function. This function just helps to clear the chart. Whatever array that we pass to it, we loop to the objects in the array. Here we will pass two arrays to it at different times. One is the bracket, in order to clear whatever bracket that was created. If we pass the bracket array, it loops throughout, it loops through the array and deletes every object that is on the chart by the name stored in that array. If it's the text array that will pass to it, it does the same thing for text, to ensure that whenever you remove the EA from the chart is clear and set to normal, in order to avoid, just to enhance a friendly user purpose or something. On line 288, we have the delete bracket. This will be used to remove individual rectangles when an opposing bracket is broken. On line 28, you can see it at work here. As this bracket got broken, this delete bracket function helps us to delete the opposing bracket, which in this case was the cell. Back to the code. Here we on line 290, we search the object by name. If it is not equals to -1, that is, if the object is found, then we delete it. We redraw the chart. Next, on line 296, we have the check margin function. This function ensures the account has enough free margin to open a trade in order to avoid order rejection and others. This is one of the validations that your EA must pass through. And other stocks, first we check the volume. We do a check. If volume is less than 0, if the volume, whatever volume that is passed to it, is less than 0, we return false, because the lot size should not be less than 0. On line 299, we get the account margin free. Please note that this video consists of a variety of concepts and techniques you can use, or like you can use to solve problems or to do whatever you want to do. I just added this line 292 this way in order for you to see that this can actually be used at some point, at this point or the other. Next, we set our reason to 0. We get object, the tick property. This will be used to get the properties of the last tick using this function symbol info tick. Here we reset price, we reset last error. We reset last error here. Here we set the price. If the order type is order type buy, we want to check the margin using the bid price. If it's order type sell, we want to check it using the bid price. If it's a buy, we check using the ask price. Here we do the main calculation, order calculate margin. If failed, our reason will be order calculate margin failed for symbol, the current symbol error equals to this. Then here we check if required margin that we got on line 308 is greater than the free margin. If it is greater than the free margin of the account free margin, then that means we can't open a trade. Reason is equal to not enough margin needed. Not enough margin needed, we get the needed margin and the current margin free. Line 316, we undefined the margin free that we defined earlier. Then we return true. Next, we have the check TP/SL distance. Check TP/SL distance. This function ensures that the stop loss and take profits are far enough from the market price, respecting broker limits. This function just makes sure that the TP or the SL we are about to use respects the broker's specification or limits, which in this case is the minimum SL points for SL, minimum symbol trade stop level. Here we get the last tick properties. On line 333, we set the price initially to the bid. If it is a buy order, then we want to check the SL, and we should not only want to, we should check the SL and the TP values using the bid. So if you as you can see from line 336 to line 341, this price was not changed because we will use the price as it is set to the bid. Next, we return SL passed and TP passed. If they are true or false, we return it. If the order type is equal to sell, we change the price to ask, because we should compare the SL and TP distances for a sell position using the ask price. Here we check if the SL and the TP passed the test. Next, we return, else we set our reason to SL or TP too close to market price. Same for the buy. If none of these, if this function couldn't return anything, or this one didn't work, then we return false by default. Next, we have the check signal function on line 354. The check signal function. This is the heart of the EA. This function monitors the brackets that has been created or defined and triggers a trade only when a valid breakout condition occurs. As said before, the EA only opens a trade when a candle closes above, and that breakout candle must not exceed a certain limit as we set here. That is where this max candle distance shortcut or constant comes into play. The distance from the close of this candle and this our reference level must not exceed a particular limit which we set to 80, and if we use the cursor, this tool, the crosshair tool, the crosshair tool, if we use it and calculate, you will see that it has 30 points, which does not exceed 80 that we set. Now back to the check signal function, and here you see the max breakout candle. We multiply it by point, we set it to price value, the points. Here we get the elastic properties, we copy rates of 2 bars starting from index 1, the previously formed bar. Here we ensure that the time of the breakout is within our specified range, which is what? The start of this bracket, the start and the end. The start, which is the start of the current day if you choose a daily time frame, and the end will be the midnight of the following day, that is the end of today. We ensure that the breakout time must happen within this current day, else nothing should be done. Then on line 362 we check the close if it's okay. On line 362 ensures that the candle before the breakout candle is within the bracket zones. Line 362 ensures that the candle before the breakout candle is within the range, is within these brackets. And then line 363 confirms that the breakout candle, like the next one to this previous one, broke above. This is just a way to detect a breakout. Then we ensure that the price of the close minus the bracket buy zone does not exceed the max, which is this. Next, we delete the opposing bracket zone. We create a text object marking broken brackets. Next, we set is bracket broken to true. We set TPSL copy buffer if SL is equals to ATR method. If SL the user specified is method range opposite, we round the price of the range opposite to tick precision. Next, we check the SL distance points, TP distance. We set the TP, we round the TP. Here on line 382 we check for margin. These are the conditions we check before opening a trade. We check the TP and SL distance to ensure that they are respecting broker limits and specification. Next, we open a trade. This we check for if failed. If the TPSL failed, we return reason equals to my reason. This will be passed to the TP and SL distance. Same for the check margin. If error opening a buy, reason equals to my reason. Here is the sell condition, just similar to the buy, just the few changes, just the opposite. If a breakout bar is lower than the sell zone, it's lower than the sell zone, we ensure that the previous bar to the breakout candle is inside the bracket. Next, we delete brackets. We create text object if it's a sell breakout. and others. On line 3, on line 413, 413, we check for margin, check TP SL distance, and we open a cell trace. Next, we have the update bracket time values. This procedure ensures the bracket zones don't stay static on the chart, rather it keeps them aligned with the new day, provided the bracket is unbroken. Here we could, let's run a quick test to see that. Let's just leave this. Let me show you how it works. Here, let's set the SL and TP to ATR based SL and TP values. Let's run a test to show you how the update bracket time function works. Let's wait for a bracket to be created. And now we have it. The update bracket time value function ensures that this bracket initially should be created from somewhere, should just stay static from somewhere around here to the end of the day. But the object bracket time value just helps to update the bracket time anchor this side to whatever be the current. If it's a new bar, you just extend this to the next 2 bars or something to just make it dynamic and not static on the chart. If you look closely, you will see that as new bar forms, this bracket time value keeps extending to the future. Watch closely. It keeps extending and extending. That is how it does. But once there is a breakout, the update stops. Once there is a breakout, the update stops. Let's make this a little bit faster. No breakouts here. Look closely. If a breakout happens, you will see the update will automatically stop. You see the update automatically stops here. This range, this bracket size should be as big as this, somewhere here to here. But you see the update bracket time helps to just keep the object dynamic and not static on the chart. Now let's go back to the other functions, the other predefined functions. In init on line 71, we check if SL method is equal to method ATR. That is, if the user decides to use the ATR method for SL, we ensure that the ATR period is not less than 0. Else, if it's less than 0, we return init failed. Next, on line 73, we do the setup. We set up everything needed, both the colors, the method, RR, and the multipliers and everything. We just set everything up before the EA starts trading. Next, we return init succeeded. On init, if SL method shows by the user is equal to ATR method, we release the handle. On line 85 and 86, you just clear the chart. We delete all brackets on line 85. On line 86, we delete all text object that was created on the chart. In the untick function on line 91, we ensure that there is a new day. We only want to check our conditions if it's a new bar, if a new bar forms on the chart for the time frame, signal time frame, if it's the 1 hour, the 30 minutes or so. Next, we ensure that the brackets, the zones are created if it's a new day using this time value 1. Time value means 1 a.m. in the morning, that is after midnight. Once it's after midnight, that is a new day has formed. That is a new day. Then we create new zones. Next, if bracket is not defined and the bracket is not broken, then we update bracket time value. This is where the update time value works. It helps to update and keep the time values of the object to align to new bars and others. Next, if not broken and property by zone is greater than 0, this is just a check. Then we check for our signal to know if there is a breakout or not. We only want all these. We only want all these from line 92 to line 105 to only happen, to only be checked if there is a new bar. Now let's compile. No errors. Back to our test. Back to the strategy tester. Let's run the test. As the test is running, let's go check. The strategy tester is still on. Faster. Bro. As you can see, there is the EA does not trade. It only trades when there is a breakout. As you can see, it only traded here, didn't trade, no trades here, traded here, no trades here, no trade here. The EA does not trade every day. It doesn't predict. It just stays, just watches. Once our conditions are met, then it strikes. Another thing is that if you look closely, you will see that the brackets created are not always of same size. Like here, the bracket here is smaller than this, and this is smaller. Okay, no, the bracket here is smaller than this, and this is smaller than this. The EA only trades based on the previous day's volatility. You know, the day volatility differs from the previous day or the subsequent ones. Each day's volatility are not same, so we only trade based on the previous day's volatility. If the previous day's volatility was high, that means today's bracket will be bigger. If it's lower or less, then the brackets will be less. Let's keep running the profits. Here is the EA itself, the volatility bracket EA. Here are the inputs, range percentage. You can decide to calculate based on the 4-hour time frame or whatever time frame, the signal time frame. You can decide whatever percentage you want the projection to be done with. The lot size, the risk to reward, you can choose for 1:1, 1:1.5, 1:2, 1:2.5. This just enables you to tell the EA how far the TP will be from the SL. Then here we have two options list for SL method. If you want the SL to be calculated based on the ATR, or you want the SL to be at the opposite side of the range. Here is the clickable link to my MQL5 profile. Back to the back test. Not done. What? Just a little bit. Let's give it more time to finish. the graph. Not bad. A little time. Let's just wait for the test to finish. A little bit faster, bro. Whoa. And here we are, we're done with the back test. And here is the back test results. You can see how unprofitable or profitable the system is. The initial deposits, the total net profit, gross profit. Next we have the absolute drawdown, the expected payoff. Then we have the Shapley ratio, the correlation, and others. Please note, this specific code file and logic was built with step index in mind. So you are to make few changes if needed in order to suit your desired pair or commodity. I hope I was able to explain the code and program in details. If you have any questions or suggestions, don't hesitate to drop it on the comment section, or will be best treated in the free Telegram group. I will leave the link on the video or the channel description. You will see the link to the free Telegram group where we will share ideas, live code, questions and answers. You will see the link on the video description. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, like, subscribe and share with another trader. Happy coding, and I will see you in the next one.